Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Andrew Bartolotta. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making an impact in our community and around the globe. And today we're talking about an organization with a mission of bringing an end to modern slavery by preventing exploitation, rescuing victims, restoring lives, and reforming society. Joining us is Rachael Hille, Partnership Development Manager at Hope for Justice. Rachael, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Andrew. We're really honored to be here and be able to share our story with you guys.
Absolutely. Now, before we talk about Hope for Justice, give us an idea for what human trafficking is, what it looks like, and where it happens.
Human trafficking is the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of labor or commercial sex act, or commercial sex involving a person under the age of 18. It is a global issue. It is the fastest growing criminal enterprise. It brings in $150 billion of illicit funds globally. It's something that I think in the US we like to think is happening elsewhere, but it's right here in our own backyard. And it's something that we need to talk about, we need to learn about so we can put an end to it, because we really believe that we are the generation that can do that.
I agree. And let's talk about this issue globally in the United States and here in Tennessee. A lot of us think, like you said, that this happens overseas or in the movies, but this happens, like you said, in our own backyard. So are there any statistics or talk about what's happening here in our community when it comes to human trafficking?
Globally, the numbers of those who are victims of human trafficking are 24.9 million. We believe that is an underreported number because it's a crime that goes undetected. It can be happening next door, it can be happening online. A lot of us have been forced to stay home the past couple of years, obviously, with everything that's gone on, and the online exploitation has gone up tremendously of just being in front of screens and different tactics. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't go by age, gender. Everyone can be affected by this, and even here in the U.S.
Now let's dive into Hope for Justice. Talk about your mission and your 4 pillars.
Absolutely. So Hope for Justice, as you said, exists to bring an end to modern day slavery through our 4-pillar program, which is preventing exploitation, rescuing victims, restoring lives, and reforming society. So we are a global organization that is on 5 continents. We have 30 plus locations across the world, and there's about 400 employees globally. And something that I love about our organization is the action that we have behind this. We bring, through preventing exploitation, we use education and community empowerment. We help families with vulnerable people to protect themselves against traffickers, and that looks differently in different countries. Here in the US, it's our Spot the Signs training. We'll show you what to look for, things that might seem a little off, ways to just be able to pick up on something that might just be a little out of the ordinary. Our rescuing victims pillar is our investigations and outreach teams work with local law enforcement agencies to identify victims of modern slavery, build bridges, and build trust with them to bring them home safely. Just a couple of statistics. In the US, we've worked over 250 cases and responded to over 500 referrals since 2020. And the US has rescued over 125 individuals since 2020 as well. Our 3rd pillar is restoring lives. We provide world-class survivor aftercare, both residential and non-residential. Our legal advocacy and support ensures needs are met and gives the best chance for justice to be done. And then our reforming society pillar, we train others on the front line, whether that's police or healthcare workers, charities, and many more, to spot the signs of modern slavery and to respond effectively. We work with governments and businesses to make change happen. In fact, just yesterday, the Trafficking Prevention and Protection Act was due to be reauthorized, and it passed through the House last night. So we are very excited about that, and it's now gone on to the Senate. But those are some of the reform elements that we like to work on as well.
You're doing tremendous work. How can the community get involved with Hope for Justice?
We have a few different types of options, whether it's our volunteer programs here in Nashville. We have a volunteer chapter. They work to do fundraising events. They do trainings. Also our online platforms, whether it's social media, LinkedIn, different things like that. Love to join our newsletter. We share survivor stories, different things that are going on. And then a big thing, this is a topic that people don't really like to talk about. It's uncomfortable, but we need to have these conversations. So if you take anything that you and I are talking about today and be able to share it with a family member or a friend to be able to talk about this issue, we can all get passionate about putting an end to it. And I think that that's another big way that we can all get involved. Or a part of our training is spot the signs. If there's something that you see that seems wrong, that gut instinct, we have a hotline, we have information that we like to say, if you see something, say something. And that's another way for the community to get involved, be the eyes and ears of your friends and your family.
Highlight some of the survivor stories and the impact that Hope for Justice has been able to make with their work.
Just a couple weeks ago, there was a 12-year-old boy who was online doing a video game. He thought that he had made a friend. Another 12-year-old boy over in England ended up not being the case. Our investigators were able to intervene in that situation. We had a young girl who ran away from home, and a man was at a bus stop and he saw her. He called the investigation team and said, she looks out of place. She doesn't look like she belongs in this side of town. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't know, I don't know if there's anything wrong, but she just doesn't seem like she's here, belongs here. So our investigations team went and checked it out. It proved that she had run away less than 24 hours ago. Her mom was looking for her, and they found her in a hotel room and were able to rescue her before anything had happened. So these are just a few of the stories that happen in our surrounding area, and there's thousands of more just like that.
So these are literally regionally local stories happening right in our backyard, like we've been talking about, which is very eye-opening, because when you were saying those examples, I'm thinking of larger cities, like New York or Chicago, that these may be happening in, but these are happening locally. And so the work that Hope for Justice is doing, not only globally, but regionally here in Middle Tennessee, is so important for saving lives and those turning victim that could be victims into and able to not have something happen to them because of your investigations team being quick on their feet to be able to intervene. So that's tremendous. What puts a smile on your face when you look at the work that you and your team are doing to end slavery and change lives?
It's stories like that, and it's not just our investigations team. It's the partnership that we have with local law enforcement. It's the community who is being trained and being aware and being willing to have these conversations. Honestly, having this conversation with you and those who might hear it, it brings a smile to my face to know that people are willing to talk about this and that they know that it's real and it's here. But sometimes we look at issues like this as too big. What can I do? But that's, we like to think that's the wrong way of looking at it, because if you have a group of people who get passionate about doing something, imagine the impact that you can have to actually put an end to something so large. And I think in every single one of our offices, we have what we like to call a freedom wall. It's a big wall, and it's full of padlocks that are unlocked. And on each one of those padlocks has a name, and that name represents someone who was rescued from trafficking, whether that's labor, sexual exploitation. It's different, all the different forms of modern day slavery. Their names represent their now freedom. And that's what keeps us going, is each one of those locks represents a person, and every person deserves to be able to live their life and to be free. And we are an organization that believes that freedom is worth the fight. And that is why we do what we do.
So talk about spotting the signs. You mentioned that this is happening locally in our community, and regionally, globally, nationally. So what are some of the signs that us as the community can look out for when it comes to human trafficking?
One thing that all human trafficking victims have in common is vulnerability, whether that's age or economic status, a hardship, life event, things like that tend to bring out those vulnerabilities even more. So some of the things that we look for is someone's not free to leave, to come or go. Someone owes a large debt that they're unable to pay. They're underage. You can tell they're really scared, anxious, nervous, or malnourished in a lot of ways. Sometimes when it comes to labor trafficking, there's long or unusual working hours, and sometimes the way they're dressed, whether it's a lack of clothing or sexualized clothing. They don't have control over what they're doing. These are some things that you can start to spot when you're talking with someone, and just the way that they're acting. These are just a few things that we tell the community to look for. And if you do see something that kind of makes you feel that spidey sense, or that kind of mom gut reaction that something's not quite right, as I mentioned before, we really push, if you see something, say something. If it's nothing, then it's nothing. But just like the story of the young girl at the bus stop, he saw something, felt a little wrong, and it ended up saving a life of a young girl. So Hope for Justice has a hotline. We have an email, or you call the human trafficking hotline agency, or things like that. Just we urge you to say something, because you just never know, and that tip could be worth saving a life.
Absolutely. Now talk about your monthly giving program, another way that you can get involved.
We like to call our monthly givers guardians. They're part of a community of regular givers who know that rescue is not just an event, it's a process. So you being part of this, a regular giving, is you're continuing to be part of the process of investing into these rescues, investing into the aftercare for our victims. So it's helping rebuild lives, and you can become a guardian through our website. Any denomination that you feel led, just thinking $25 a month could provide vital materials for our outreach engagement teams who are working directly with the victims. So those are the programs that you would be supporting as becoming a guardian.
And lastly, talk about the Hope for Justice Learning Academy.
Yes, this is something we are so excited about that is new this year. Our Learning Academy, we are pursuing being the elite online training for this awareness. We have law enforcement specific training. We have hospitality work. We also have a general awareness training of what is human trafficking. How can you spot the signs? It is all online, and we highly encourage you to go there. It's such a enriching and just enlightening training to go through. It's a lot of the statistics that I shared today, but in an interactive platform, and it's something that is accessible to you today.
That's great. Now, Rachel, where can people go to learn more, get involved, and make a difference with Hope for Justice?
Yes, so if you could visit us at hopeforjustice.org. There's videos, there's survivor stories, links to where you can get the training. If you follow us on social media, is our other way. A lot of information there that you can subscribe to. We would love for you to be a part of this, because we truly believe that we could be the generation to end modern day slavery. And the first step is for us to know what it is and what we're doing about it.
Rachel, thank you so much for coming on the City Current Show and the work you're doing with Hope for Justice.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I thank you for everyone who's listening and who wants to join us because freedom is worth the fight.